Welcome to That's Based. Happy Sunday. It's a bonus show. If you're listening to this in Omaha, Nebraska right now, and you didn't listen to it Sunday when it aired, but you're listening to it Monday through Friday between the hours of 2 to 6 p.m., you're currently listening to the only host on air in the city of Omaha who can bench press his own weight. Congratulations on that. We appreciate it. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days, brought to you by Outlaw Streamers Live 365 on Chris Baker Radio and our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodoftyrants.com. With the promo code BASED, like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Drink bloodoftyrants.com. With the promo code BASED, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. They got two types of wine, both red and white, along with the liquid Freedom Energy drink that you see pictured right there. It's drinkbloodoftyrants.com with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show, you'll save 10% off your order at the checkout. Well, we're doing a bonus show. I kind of figured that was going to happen when we brought Monty on, because very rarely, we don't have to keep it under 2 hours anymore, but we got to keep it around that just because I don't want to go over 2 hours for my own sanity's sake. But I figured when we brought Monty on, I was going to end up doing a show because we weren't going to be able to cover everything I wanted to cover. And lo and behold, here we are. I knew that was going to happen. It's kind of, we're at the point where when we bring guests on to do a full show with us, we just kind of assume that it's not only A, going to go over, but B, I'm going to end up doing a second show. I signed myself up for extra work. It's fine. It's okay. I'm not upset about it. I'm drinking from my Nine Rivers Country Club coffee mug, though. So if you're a King of the Hill fan, you'll get the reference. Well, we didn't talk about something pretty major, and I felt kind of stupid leaving it off on yesterday's show because the news had already broke by the time we pre-taped. But whatever, we didn't have time. I think it's kind of crazy how all the major news stories, because we pre-tape late Wednesday night and we air it Saturday, I think it's crazy how very rarely do we get major news stories on Thursdays and Fridays. Like, are all the crazy people in the world just kind of checked out from being crazy? Kind of like, you know how like people's like end of the day Thursday, you start looking ahead to the weekend at your job, and then Friday you just totally blow it off. Like, do crazy people and politicians and criminals kind of take it the same way? Executives that are going to make major moves that are going to shake the crimes, I suppose. That's just the vibe I get from it, because very rarely do I end up having to do extra shows because something happened on Thursday or Friday. It doesn't happen the only times I can really think of are when you had Trump got convicted. And then there was the time they shot Trump, but that was on a weekend, if I remember right. So I just wound up doing a late show Saturday night, then another one Sunday. I mean, that was not everybody was on. There was anybody when that was on. But anyway, let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel got his show. He didn't get fired. He wasn't fired. We have to use the correct terminology. He didn't get fired. He got his show indefinitely suspended from the air. Listen, not officially fired, but if your boss pulls you into work Monday morning and says, hey, you're indefinitely suspended without pay, you should probably go look for another job. That's all I'll tell you. You should probably start looking for employment elsewhere, because it's not as official and permanent as firing. It's like that boyfriend and girlfriend that they're a toxic mess. They break up. They never want to see each other again, but they leave the door open to still be friends. No, clean break. It's best for everybody involved. Let Jimmy go find a new station to tank their ratings and push his propaganda. Don't leave him in limbo like that. ABC, you move on. You find another host to blame for your poor ratings, when the reality is that the form of Tonight Show that you're doing right now is a dead medium that was killed about 15 to 20 years ago. Go ahead and blame somebody else. It doesn't matter who you put in. Here's the thing, and we'll talk about what this means for free speech and politics in America and everything else. If you're ABC, this is your chance right now. Because there's only one network that's got a late night show that's working. Two. But one of them's HBO with Bill Maher. So I'm not even going to count that. There's only one cable network that's got a working late night show, And it's Fox. Fox is the only one with Gutfeld. And Gutfeld almost runs more like Bill Maher's show. The difference between what Gutfeld, besides the format, but the difference between what Gutfeld is doing and what Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Fallon and all these guys are doing is Gutfeld doesn't lie to you. Gutfeld doesn't hide behind, oh, we're a joking comedy show, we're apolitical, blah, 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 and then spend the next hour shoving propaganda down your throat. Gutfeld goes, look, we're political, we lean this way, and we're going to make jokes. We're going to have lighthearted, we're going to have serious conversations, kind of like we do on this show. We're going to have serious conversations, and we're going to make some lighthearted jokes about it. But at the end of the day, this is where we stand on things. People like that Gutfeld doesn't BS them. You want me to be honest? Of those 4 late night hosts, Gutfeld is the least talented, and he'll probably be the first one to tell you that. He's the least funny, but he's got the most successful show. Because Fox, unlike the other dinosaur networks, decided, you know what? This is a dying medium. Maybe we should try and, mix it up. What do we have to lose? We don't even have a late night show. Let's do something that none of these other channels are doing. And that's the problem. So if you missed it, here's what Kimmel said that got him in hot water. I figure I should probably do that before anything else.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the 4th stage of grief, construction. There's demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
So, full disclosure, I actually don't think the joke, I thought it was funny. I don't think the joke was that bad. I thought that was a funny joke. We would play, I didn't even see that clip. We would have played that on the show. Because it's a hilarious predicament. Not Kirk getting killed, obviously, but the fact that they asked Trump about it, and Trump just immediately pivots to construction. That's Trump. We wouldn't have done it maliciously. We wouldn't have made fun of it. And I don't think his joke was even that bad. What got him fired, though, was what he said at the beginning. I'll play it for you one more time. Let me know if you can hear what he said. Otherwise, I'll just tell you. I don't care.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing...
So that's what got him fired, was that lie. That's the lie that's been being pushed since we found out who this kid was, whose name we're not going to use, but I'm sure you all know it by now, was that he was MAGA. And they've just tried to cling on to any bit of hope that this kid was conservative. My favorite part of all of this, though, was the Democrats' primary argument that this kid was a Republican. He had to be far right. He couldn't be a leftist, because he came from a loving family where the parents were still together and they were involved in his life. That was their big message. I'm sorry, that sounds like a self-own to me. But that's the lie that's been being reciprocated all week, which is that he's MAGA, and just information has slowly trickled out that this kid was clearly anything but MAGA. I mean, they revealed some of his computer web search history, and he's into like trans furry porn and all this weird. Now, look, of course, there are conservatives with some degenerate porn tastes out there. We frequently have them as guests on our show, so I have to go through everybody's phone to make sure. But when you look at, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about the shooter in a minute, but long story short, he was not MAGA. It was well known by the time he made this joke that he was not conservative, that this kid was leaning to the left pretty harshly. And he rolled with that anyway. And the FCC chair came out and said, hey, maybe ABC needs to fire Jimmy Kimmel. They made some comments like that, which I have my own opinions on, but I've told you this is war. The rules have changed. September 10th, the rules changed. I really don't care about principles as much as I once did. Be honest with you here. So the FCC kind of hinted toward it. Right around the time that happened, one of the networks that ABC airs on decided, hey, we're not going to play Jimmy Kimmel. We don't want this guy on here pushing lies, which is hilarious. It's like, oh, all of a sudden now you guys are worried about lies. By the way, go turn ABC News on or any of these dinosaur channels. You'll see every host on there repeating this same talking point. Bullshit propaganda that this shooter was MAGA. But Jimmy Kimmel's the only one who got the axe? Absolutely not. That's not why they fired him. Believe me, I'd like to believe that we live in that we finally made it to a day and age that Donald Trump finally pushed us over the edge, where media outlets have a host go on the air and recite a lie that they know is a lie, but they say it anyway, and the outlet holds them responsible and fires him for it. I would love to believe that Donald Trump has ushered that golden era in, yet I am not that gullible. I don't think that's what happened. I think what happened to Jimmy Kimmel was Jimmy Kimmel's ratings were in the toilet. ABC wanted an excuse to dump Jimmy Kimmel because he was losing them money, and they said, how about this? The FCC just kind of threatened us. Now we have cause to fire him. Now we don't have to wait till the end of his contract or have to worry about buying him out. Let's just make a move now. And by the way, we can scapegoat this guy, Donald Trump, and his administration that we've been trying to refer to as authoritarian for the last couple of months anyway. Kill two birds with one stone. That's what I think happened here. ABC saw they had an out and they rolled with it. Nothing else makes sense to me. I mean, genuinely, truly, if you can think of another theory, let me know. We're working hard to get Monty Scott into Jimmy Kimmel's job, though. We're working pretty hard to get Monty Scott hired. You want me to be honest what I think ABC should do, and I know no one's going to listen to me. ABC should just scrap it. Scrap it. Do what Fox is doing, but try to make it. ABC actually has a chance to do what people on the left and in the center, that kind of the left, like the Monty Scott types, they've got a chance to do what a lot of people have been saying, which is to create their own type of gut felt thing. Here's the thing. Don't bring these woke influencers and these hack comedians on. Bring on people that, like they have on Gutfeld, that are on the left. You'll get a token conservative guy. You can all beat up on him and have like actual real talk conversations about these things. You can bring celebrities on and interview them and do the live studio audience and have a fun test. That's all fine. Absolutely incorporate comedy into it. But people, what the late night show became was just an extension of your afternoon news. And that works for some people. That works for the weirdos at the No Kings rally. But for the most part, people didn't want that. They didn't want CNN with some half-assed jokes because that's what it became. And that's the other thing, is everyone's talking about, oh, they're coming for the comedians now, which is hilarious coming from you guys, talking about coming for comedians. Does the name Dave Chappelle ring any bells? For God's sakes. We'll get to that in a minute. But everyone's talking about, oh, they're coming for the comedians now. No, they're not coming for the comedians. They're not. Jimmy Kimmel did not get fired for his joke. They misconstrue everything, not because they're stupid. Their base is stupid that repeats it. But the people that invent these talking points about how they're coming for the comedians, they're not stupid people. They know what they're doing. They understand that Jimmy Kimmel did not get fired for the joke he told. If Jimmy Kimmel just would have told that joke and the first half of that sentence didn't happen, you would have had some people freak out, but nothing would have happened. Jimmy Kimmel got fired because he went on the air and lied. That's why he got fired. Sorry, Jimmy. If you want to go on there and act, you don't get to go on there and act like a serious journalist and then pull the, oh, I'm just a comedian, I'm just joking. It's one or the other, bro. If you want to state objective facts, you don't get to pull back and go, oh, it was just a joke. No, you lied. That's why he got fired. That's why he got fired. What I love about this is it shows just how far off we are as a society, how little we actually trust the media. Because the argument being told right now is, like I just said, every other host is going on there and saying it. Well, everybody else lies. Why can't Kimmel lie? That's the whole argument, is that he should be able to be allowed to lie because everybody else gets to lie. Not, hey, maybe everybody should just stop lying. I think that would be the rational. But no, that we're so far gone that we can't even have, we're willing to not just lie, but abandon logic if it means we can defend our own side. I got into someone was attacking someone I know on Facebook about, you know, how horrible of a precedent it is that the FCC is targeting Jimmy Kimmel and blah, 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 and got him fired from ABC. And I just replied with a screenshot where Zuckerberg a couple of months ago was talking about how the Biden administration would just reach out to Facebook and go, hey, yank this post down. It's contrary to the narrative. Yank it down. We don't want that out there. And they did it at will. Thousands, if not tens of thousands of posts yanked down on demand at the request of the Biden administration. No questions asked. Zuckerberg flat out said that. And no one from the Biden administration came out and refuted it. So we know that happened. You know what this person replied to me? Well, that's different. Facebook's a private company. ABC isn't. They're gone, guys. They're mentally gone. There's nothing left. Any sense of reason or rationale or anything like that has been flushed down the fucking toilet by these people. There's no reasoning with them anymore. They shot the last guy who was willing to talk to him. There's no sense in having conversations. If they're going to just say things as objective facts that they know for a fact are lies, there's no sense in talking to these people. They've abandoned the use of reason. I'll pull a Mark Twain quote up here. I've just been reminding people, save this to your phones. If you're on Rumble or YouTube and you're watching, screenshot this when I pull it up and save it to your phones. The next time you want to argue with one of these idiots that's still using the right-wing narrative about the shooter or is still talking about Mark Zuckerberg, or excuse me, not Mark Zuckerberg, Jimmy Kimmel, and just all this garbage. Use this quote. It's from Mark Twain. The truth has no defense against a fool who is determined to believe a lie. Mark Twain. The truth has no defense against a fool determined to believe a lie. If these people want to believe a lie, there is nothing you can say to them, no evidence you can present to them, nothing. 2 + 2 = 5. Nothing you can say to them will get them to change their mind. There is no sense in reasoning with these people. We can't have conversations with people. Remember I was talking with, when we had Adam Gottschall on here. I said a lot more people need to start developing the same system that roller coasters have for who they argue with, who they engage with. Must be this tall to ride, but you apply that to intelligence. People that have an IQ below a certain level, it's not worth your time to discuss it with them. Because it's not like you're an NFL team playing a peewee football team. You're an NFL team playing a team that thinks it's a basketball game. So you may be up 70-0, but they're sitting over there shooting the ball at the goalpost in a shopping cart that they've tied up to it, thinking they just hit another three-pointer and they're dominating you. There's no sense in reasoning with people who are beyond the scope of reason. They've lost their collective minds. There's no reason to talk to them anymore. Now, obviously, don't get violent. I'm not encouraging that. But we have to do our own thing. We have to compete for the people in the middle. We have to talk directly to the people in the middle. We talk directly to the people in the middle, and we let them see how unhinged these people are firsthand. We're done trying to reason with the left. If you're a rational leftist, meet us in the middle. We'll figure it out. You shouldn't want anything to do with these nutcases. You shouldn't want anything to do with these people who are willing to flush their brains down the toilet if it means they can win an argument. They're not even winning the argument, but if it means they can win an argument, they are willing to abandon all logic and reason. Also, people are acting like the FCC went into Jimmy Kimmel's studio and seized all of his documents. took the computers and all the equipment away and drug him out in handcuffs, kind of like the government did to Alex Jones. But they're acting like that's what happened. Like the chief of the FCC and Donald Trump got together and just said, Jimmy, you're fired. That's not what happened. The chief of the FCC made a comment that I'm not comfortable with, but fuck it, the gloves are off. ABC fired him. ABC at any time could have just said no. The FCC did not fire Jimmy Kimmel. ABC did. Disney did. At any time during this process, they could have gave the FCC the finger. You know how I know they could have done that? Because the Biden administration tried the exact same thing with Spotify and Rogan. They tried to say, hey, Spotify, Joe Rogan's pushing misinformation about COVID and vaccines on your platform. You need to take them where they flat out said that. They called them out. Spotify said, go pound sand. They could have done that at any point in time. You know what happened to Spotify for it? Nothing. They didn't do it because this isn't about free speech. It's not about anything. It's about they wanted a convenient out for Jimmy Kimmel. That's all this was about. It wasn't about a lie. Since when did ABC care about the truth? They said, sure, you're gone, Jimmy. It's a dying medium. Nobody finds that crap funny anymore. That style of humor is over. People like a little bit more rough, like it a little bit more rough around the edges. I just love how the people that have been crusading against free speech for the last decade are all of a sudden these big defenders of it. Get out of here. Get out of here. I've got liberals lecturing me about free speech. It's like being lectured by an OnlyFans whore because I had sex before I got married. Like, yeah, maybe I didn't do the best thing I could have done, but who the fuck are you to call me out on that? You guys weren't worried about free speech when you were threatening to shoot up Ari Shaffir's venues because he made a Kobe Bryant joke. You guys weren't worried about free speech when you were harassing Dave Chappelle's venues, when you were trying to bully Netflix to take Chappelle off. That's my thing. If you were quiet about the previous administration colluding with Facebook to censor conservative voices, if you were quiet about the previous administration trying to railroad Joe Rogan off the podcast apps, I really don't care to hear your takes on freedom of speech because it's abundantly clear you only care about freedom of speech when it's you guys that are getting fired. My props to the folks on the right because you're not trying to act principled here. You're not putting your heads in the sand and acting like things in the past didn't happen. No, you're flat out saying, yeah, we did believe in freedom of speech. We were the party of free speech. We would like to get back to a point where we would support free speech for both sides, but you guys shoot people who think differently than you. Those rules changed on September 10th. September 10th, we threw those out the window. We decided we can't win a war, political war, against a side that's not going to play by the same rules as us. They're going to kill us if we speak our minds, so we have to fight back. We're not willing to kill you over it because we actually value human life. We don't blend babies, things like that. But we are going to fight back using some of the same rules that you established, that we can go after people for their jobs, things we wouldn't have done a couple of weeks ago. We can go after people's jobs now. We can silence people and put pressure. The conservatives are flat out saying, yes, we understand we're being hypocritical here. We don't care because the rules have changed now. You've made it abundantly clear you don't want to play by them. I remember when I was in high school, we had a game. We were playing a football game, and the other team was just dirty as hell, and the refs would not call anything. Chop blocks, holding, block in the back, face mask. I mean, we had guys getting their helmets ripped off. We had a guy get kicked in the throat on the ground right in front of a referee, and they didn't call it. And we were down by like a score or two at halftime. And I remember our coaches came out at halftime, and, everyone's bitching about the ref, and the coach had torn into the ref a couple of times. So it's not like he could pretend that nothing was going on and just tell us to get out there and try your best. No, he came up to us and he said, guys, do whatever it takes. If they're holding you, if they're blocking you in the back, if they're taking low blows on you, start doing it to them until they start calling it. Then we'll deal with the refs. Don't try to hurt anybody, but go out there. The rules have changed. Holding isn't a penalty until they start calling it. Face mask, block in the back, not a penalty until they start calling it. Do what you got to do to win. We went out there, we did it, and we won. The refs weren't going to call it. We were going to play the game the way the refs were calling it. There's no sense in having an uneven playing field. There's no honor in going out and playing by the rules if you know you're going to get your ass beat. There's none. If a guy breaks into my house and he's unarmed or he's got a knife, there's no honor in me going out there and trying to fight that guy with a knife of my own. No, I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to shoot him. I don't care what the rules are. He broke into my house. I'm going to defend my family. I don't care if it makes it unfair that I have a gun. This drug addict broke into my house. I'm going to blow his head off. I'm going to fight back. It doesn't matter what the rules are. The rules went out the window when he decided to kick my door down. That's all there is to it. And we'll never, ever encourage political violence. But we will encourage going to a political war through some backdoor, not violence, not with weapons. But if y'all got to shut some liberals up through their employer or through social media or these TV channels, then so be it, dude. I don't feel bad for them. And you shouldn't feel bad for them either. Don't get me wrong. It's tough for me to come to terms with the fact that the rules have changed. If you're sitting there going, I want to defend free speech, but at the same time, these people made it abundantly clear over the last week that they want me to die. That's a normal human reaction, to just not care all that much. I tried to care about Jimmy Kimmel. I can't. It's hard to feel sad about the people who want to kill you losing their civil liberties. I told y'all yesterday, the cat's out of the bag. They can't take what they said back, which is that they want us dead for the way we believe, for our political beliefs. Like, imagine if you had, like, your daughter broke up with a boyfriend who was abusive, and this guy starts threatening her, threatening the family, he's going to kill you, he's going to do this and that, and you finally say enough is enough, so you call the police for terroristic threats. They go down, they arrest that guy, and the cops beat the shit out of him. They didn't need to, but they slam him on the ground, kick him in the head, tase him, all that stuff. You got a split lip. It didn't need to happen, but they beat the fucking tar out of this kid. How upset are you really going to be about that? How mad are you actually going to be about, how concerned are you really going to be about that punk-ass kid's civil liberties? At the absolute best, you just go, eh. At the worst, you'll go, good. That doesn't mean you support the concept of police brutality the same way that you not giving a damn or maybe even giving a silent little hell yeah when you see another liberal lose their job or get their show taken off the air doesn't mean you don't believe in free speech. It just means you're tired of these people for the last decade oppressing you. You're tired of these people using these exact same tactics and terrorizing you for the last decade, and it's about fucking time somebody gives it back to them. You can only get punched in the mouth for so long until you either hemorrhage out on the ground and die or decide to defend yourself and punch them back. That's what's happening here. They don't fall for this bullshit, because I'm seeing a lot of liberals. We all need to unite around Jimmy Kimmel. Don't. I don't care what your personal opinion on it is. Do not side with these people. They're using you. They're lying to you. They're taking an issue that they know you believe in and you care about, and they're trying to manipulate you, and they're playing a lot of conservatives like a fiddle. You don't have to approve of what Kimmel said. Shut up and do not join them. They will use you and then throw you out like yesterday's garbage when they get what they want out of you. If they can get enough people on the right and the center to start making a bunch of noise, ABC might go, oh, wow, maybe we should bring Kimmel back. No, none of that. None of that. Stand in solidarity silently and shut the fuck up. Let them have their little left-wing circle jerk. Right now, those people are so unhinged. They're the boy who cried fascist. They're so unhinged, nobody takes them seriously. Let these blue-haired freaks sit there and throw their temper tantrum. Nobody's going to care. Because everyone's learned, oh, they're just crazy. They don't speak for the average person. The second the average guy starts raising concerns about this is the second they might get what they want. And believe me, they do not believe in free speech. They are not on our side on this issue. They only want their propaganda machine to have free speech, and they're willing to use you. They're willing to play on your emotions for something that you believe in and you hold dearly, and try to use that belief you have, try to use that principle that you have as a vehicle to get them to where they want to be. Do not fall for it. Do not fall for it. It's the same way when these idiots, they don't believe that they're atheists, right? Or whatever. And they come out and they'll talk about, well, what did the Bible say about illegal immigration? They hate your religion. They despise you. They hate everything about it. Everything about your religion they find to be disgusting. They find it to be backward, outdated, and repulsive. Flipping that around and using that same tactic on them would never in a million years move the needle on any issue, because they don't believe in it. They don't believe in God, but they'll throw your religion right back at you to get you to side with them on immigration. It's the same thing with free speech. The same thing with free speech. If for whatever reason, let's say 4 years from now, let's say they get what they want here, and then 4 years from now, President Gavin Newsom comes in and gets the pressure Spotify into Cannon Joe Rogan's show, and you go, hey, buddy, defenders of free speech on the left, come on over here. You got to help us out. Oh, you thought we were going to do that for you? No. You don't understand. We're parasites. And with parasites, that's a one-way street. It's a one-way beneficial relationship there. We of course not. No, we don't believe in free speech. Or they'd come up with some bullshit excuse. Well, he was a national health threat with the vaccines or the blah, 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 blah. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. They will never in a million years defend you the way they are demanding that you defend them. Never in a million years will they do that. Do not fall for this shit. You don't have to partake in the canceling if you're not comfortable with that. You don't have to be the one out calling people's jobs. You don't have to be the one out demanding that these shows get taken off the air. You just don't need to defend them. Don't defend the people who are the so-called quote-unquote victims of this. That's all you've got to do. Like that's literally it. Do not side with these people. Do I feel bad for Jimmy Kimmel? No, I tried. I really did. I tried. And then I remembered these people would tell me to face the wall and shoot me in the back of the head for my beliefs. If they had the chance to. If they had the power to. Totally natural for you to feel a little perturbed by this. I get it. Do you remember, though, under Biden, they were trying to make it so that this was something the administration and some establishment folks had recommended under Biden. You can go back and look this up. They were trying to make it so the FCC could have jurisdiction over podcasts and other internet broadcasts. Nothing happened to it. Sirius XM, things like that. Live 365 on Chris Baker Radio, where you can find us. Nothing happened with that, though. And probably a good thing. Probably a good thing, because I've always said you got to be careful where these precedents get set. If the left gets power back, which we need to make sure they don't, but if the left gets power back, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to watch. Just watch the next Democrat president. You heard it here first. September 21st, 2025, here on That Space with Caleb Salvatore. The next Democrat president will try to expand the powers of the FCC into the podcast and internet spaces, and he will try to censor anybody and everybody that dissents. The Democrats, guys, we have to. Remember what I said? The cat was out of the bag with the stuff they were saying about Charlie Kirk and conservatives? The cat's out of the bag now. There's no going back. We've crossed the line. We have to see this thing through to its completion. We've got to root the demons out. We've got to find a way to make it so that the left cannot regain power in this country again, because they are going to do what we're doing to them right now tenfold. And they're going to stack the Supreme Court when they do it. You think that you conservatives that think Trump's acting a little too authoritarian right now haven't seen nothing. Because if Gavin Newsom takes the White House in 4 years, what Trump's doing right now is going to seem like a fucking birthday party, bro. To the right. Or excuse me, to the left. For what Gavin Newsom's going to turn around and do to us. We have to politically bury the left. Not with violence. I have to do that disclaimer every 15 minutes now, because the game has changed. The game has changed. 6 months ago, I could have said we have to politically bury the left, And just the use of the word politically would give me enough plausible deniability right there.
Politically.
But the way the game has changed, I have to say, not with violence, like every 15 to 20 minutes. Because the other side is so prone to violence. That's the worst part about this. You guys know I'm not calling you to violence. I would never do that. I would never call someone to violence if I wasn't willing to do it myself. Ever. That's when you see these pussies like Destiny and Hassan and all these idiots out there talking about the streets need to be running red with conservatives' blood. You can look that up. Hassan said something along those lines. Or that, they need to be afraid they're going to get murdered when they go out to these events, which, by the way, is fascist. That's the definition of fascist. People being afraid that they're going to be killed or imprisoned for their beliefs. Not that they're going to lose their job, but that they're going to be killed or imprisoned for their beliefs. I'm glad the mask is off now. That's the definition of fascism. When they're out saying stuff like this, you guys on the left, and I know none of you are listening to this show except my fan club over there in Lincoln. But do you really think that Destiny of all people, Stephen Bonnell from Omaha, Nebraska, that pussy, that blue-haired little cuck is going to pick up a rifle and do a goddamn thing? No, he's going to sit in his bedroom, play his video games, do his little Twitch stream, and be edgy on Piers Morgan, and he's going to watch you get the absolute shit beat out of you on the news, in videos on social media. These grifters that are signing you up for war, they're not going to get their fingers dirty. They're no different than the politicians in Washington, D.C. on the left and the right that are all too happy to send somebody else's kid off to fight in Ukraine or the Middle East or whatever. They're trying to do it here with you. They're trying to use you, and Soros and all these guys, they're trying to use you as political pawns to go out and terrorize conservatives, leaving themselves with just enough wiggle room and plausible deniability to get away with saying it was incitement. They're trying to get you to go out and kill their political rivals. They're trying to get you to go out and clash with conservatives and police in the streets and cause violence and chaos and loot buildings and all that, because they don't have the balls to do any of it, because these people make millions of dollars a year, and never in a million years would they actually get up and do any of the shit that they're trying to push you to do. So let's talk about the shooter for a little bit. We're not going to use his name, but here are the text messages. We found out the guy has a trans partner that was a man who was turning into a woman, so it's between him and his boyfriend. Do I got him? Did I save the pic? That's not it. There it is. Third time's the charm. Here's the text message conversation between the shooter and his boyfriend. Right here. So the shooter, this is after the shooter told the quote-unquote roommate, boyfriend, to look for a note under his keyboard. The boyfriend says, "What? You're joking, right?" The note was confessing, supposedly, that he killed Charlie Kirk. The shooter says, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Boyfriend, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Shooter, "I am. I'm sorry." Boyfriend, "I thought they caught the person." Shooter, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why?" Boyfriend, Shooter, "Why did I do it?" Boyfriend, "Yeah." Shooter, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Boyfriend, "How long have you been planning this?" Shooter, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's no squad car parked right by." Then he goes on later, "Delete this exchange. My dad wants the photos of the rifle. Don't say anything without an attorney, blah, 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 blah." So everyone pointed out that this does not read like a conversation between two human beings. And they're right. They're 100% correct. This looks scripted, but I don't think it looks scripted for the same reason that some of you do. There's people saying the FBI scripted this, and it depends how far to what side they are as to why they believe it was scripted. Some people believe it was scripted by the FBI to set the shooter up as some left-wing patsy. People on the far right believe it was scripted by the FBI to exonerate Israel. I don't think it was any of that. I really don't. I've seen no evidence, no real evidence to suggest this was Israel. I see people pointing to weird things. Well, there was a plane in the air. Well, there was a camera behind him that was actually a gun. Well, there was a... I think what it boils down to, and I just had this conversation with someone earlier today. Now, look, I do believe there are some things, some major events that there's some weird shit going on there. I don't think they're all that way, though. I think it brings people comfort to believe that there is some big, bad, evil, cartoon-type force pulling the strings behind every bad event. And the reason I think it brings people comfort to believe that is because I think in a weird way that's more comfortable than the alternative, which is the most likely reality, which is that it's chaos. There are just sometimes crazy people who do crazy things for crazy reasons, and sometimes no reason at all. It's a lot easier. I think it's an easier pill to swallow for people to believe that Israel did this than it is for people to face the reality, which is that there's a significant percentage of this country that is unhinged, delusional, and violent. So I don't buy the conspiracy from either side. I don't think they were trying to frame. I don't think the Trump administration killed Charlie Kirk to frame the left wing and give him an excuse to do all this. I also don't think that Israel did it because Kirk had this phone call with Netanyahu that no one can provide any evidence of, where they offered him $150 million to toe the line and he turned it down and was going to go. I don't have any proof of that. Charlie Kirk, one of my biggest criticisms of Charlie Kirk is that he was way too pro-Israel. I don't see Israel whacking him. I don't. You all know how I feel about the Israel-Palestine thing. Not a big fan of giving our money away to countries that wouldn't piss on us if we were on fire. I just don't see Israel being responsible for this. So, no, I think this is legit. The reason I think this is scripted, though, is it was not scripted by the FBI. I think this was scripted by the shooter and his boyfriend to exonerate the boyfriend, to give him enough plausible deniability that he didn't know what was going on. Because let me tell you, if I texted Mia and said, I just killed somebody, she wouldn't respond with, why? No, I'd get a phone call. That would be a phone call. The text conversation would be over because she would lose her fucking mind on me. So to me, this reads, because they throw a bunch of just random, unimportant details like the $2,000 scope with the rifle. I didn't read the whole conversation. They throw a bunch of unimportant details in there, and it looks like a script between two middle schoolers. I really think that this was planned out, and I don't have proof of this. This is my opinion. But to me, this looks like it was planned out. The boyfriend played a role. My guess is there were several other people that played a role. We'll get into that in a second here. And they're trying to cover this guy's ass. Is just say, oh, I don't know. Like, I used to know a drug dealer that would come to your house, drop the drugs off, and a couple days later, and right as he leaves, or when he gets home from where he was from his drop-off, he'll text you, hey, man, thanks for watching my cat. Just to give him some, like, plausible deniability why he was at your house in case anybody was following him. That's what this looks like to me. When you see someone just vomiting unnecessary details and having this robotic, seemingly rehearsed conversation where it almost reads like they're trying a little too hard to make the boyfriend seem like he didn't know what was going on. They wanted to have something in writing that his lawyer could use. That's what this looks like to me. You want my opinion? I think this is a left-wing terrorist sleeper cell. That's what I see here. I think because you had several Twitter accounts within an hour of Utah Valley State where the shooting happened, all belonging to transgender users. You had another transgender SoundCloud rapper who made a song called Charlie Kirk Dead at 31 September 10th, several months before the shooting happened, and put it up on they, them, his, her, whatever's SoundCloud account. You had all these Twitter accounts saying something big's going to happen to Charlie Kirk on September 10th. You had an old man who, after the shooting happened, instinctively throws up his arms and says, "Shoot me, shoot me. I'm the one who did it." Who does that? You've got another guy who was at the shooting that dropped a BB gun in the midst of all the chaos, a rifle. It looked like a real rifle. You could tell if it was a BB gun. At first sight, and amongst a bunch of chaos, you'd think that was your rifle. It was almost like you had multiple people here working together to distract law enforcement and help the shooter with a getaway. And that's what's scary here. Is this sounds like an organized hit to me. This is our generation's JFK. Not that Kirk's as big of a figure as JFK was, but simply because the narrative we're seeing that this was a lone wolf gunman doesn't make any sense. I think we're going to find out, and this is just me talking, over the next couple of months, that the boyfriend was involved to some degree, and there were multiple other parties. Now, the other reason I think that there might be multiple other parties involved is because the shooter himself is not cooperating with law enforcement. He's not saying anything. Let's think about the profile of a deranged lone wolf lunatic that thinks he's out there shooting somebody to get this message across, right? That guy wants to be heard. If that guy gets caught, that guy wants everyone to know why he did it, because he's a delusional nutcase and he thinks the whole world's just going to fall in love with his ideas, and honestly, 20% of the population probably will. That guy's going to talk. He's going to tell you why he did it, who inspired him, all that stuff. Do you know who doesn't talk? People with accomplices. The mob pleads the fifth, to quote Donald Trump. Terrorist groups don't talk. Street gangs don't snitch on each other. If you've got a guy who truly acted alone because he just hated Charlie Kirk, he's going to want the whole world to know why he did what he did. Whether it's because he's crazy or because he wants to push his political beliefs or all of the above. Somebody who has accomplices doesn't talk because they're loyal to those people and they don't want that, and they don't want those people to go down. They want this specifically if you're involved in some type of extremist group, because you want that group to go out and deliver the next couple of blows. That's where this gets scary. If there's one in lily white, dark red Utah that's willing to start capping the most prominent conservatives in the country, how fucking many of these groups are there? Are they coordinated in a large network? Is somebody like, a Soros funding them? Who's doing this? Are they all just little sleeper cells that popped up on their own? Are they in communication? How deep does this rabbit hole go? Who's involved? Because Discord, which is where it's a degenerate app. It makes Reddit look like a fucking walk through the park. Do not get on Discord. Discord initially said, hey, we couldn't find anything related to this guy's political beliefs on here. And then the FBI goes and searches his Discord account, and they get into his phone, and they found screenshots proving to the contrary. So what incentive does Discord have to lie here? Does Discord need to be investigated? Did they need a subpoena? Do we need a warrant for them? How deep does this rabbit hole go? Because it seems to me, and it's easier to blame the Jews because they're thousands of miles away. But like I've said, guys, this thing is screaming to me from the beginning that the call is coming from inside the house. The elites are, the Israel and the oligarchs aren't pulling the strings here. But there is some type of network going on where these left-wing nutcases are conspiring. And I fear that this will not be the last. I fear that the midterms are coming up next year, and the goal is going to be to create chaos over the summer. We're coming into the winter months here. They're not going to be able to go outside and do all that much. Come into the summer, I fear that it's going to be a sketchy summer. To quote Taylor Swift, it'll be a cruel summer. Maybe we'll have to make a parody of that. But this scares the shit out of me. Because this is not, he may have been a lone gunman, but he did not act. Everything I'm seeing here points to him not acting alone. The last thing I want to get into is social media. Guys, we got to talk about social media and what it's doing to your brains. All of our brains, not just you, me too. It's not specific to any political ideology, nothing like that. Now, I'm a free market guy. I'm a capitalist. I think companies should be able to operate, for the most part, with minimal government intervention. But it gets to a point when those companies begin endangering the lives of the public, where I do believe that the government needs to step in. They have not just an authority, but a responsibility to step in and say, all right, you got to stop this. If a company's dumping toxic chemicals in a lake, if a car manufacturer is knowingly cheaping out on the brakes and people are getting killed driving down the highway, things like that. If they're putting poison in our food and water and they're giving it all these crazy names that we don't have time to research, and they just slowly kill us and give us cancer. Yes, I believe the government does need to step into that and do something about that. We're getting to a point where social media is falling into the category of that food production company that's pouring toxic sludge into a lake, into a river, whatever. Look at your Facebook, bro. Go log on. Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, their algorithms are the same. Their algorithms push things to the top that they know you are going to engage with. And the more engagement you have on a post, the easier it is for them to advertise you are the product, right? So if they show you a video of puppies, you're going to like it. You might comment, "Aw," and move on. If they show you a post of a political take that you agree with, you're going to like it. You might drop, "I agree," in the comments and move on. But if they show you a Facebook post, and if you go look at your Facebook profile, it'll tell you where it thinks you land politically. You can go look. It's flat out says, this is where we think, center right, far right, middle, far left, center left. They may have taken that off public, but I know years ago they used to. So if they were tracking you back then, they're tracking you now, and it's probably more high tech. They probably know more about your beliefs. But it builds a profile of how you feel politically. So it knows what's going to piss you off and what you're going to agree with. If they show you a political post that you disagree with, you're going to comment on it 15 times because you're going to get into an argument. The more comments, going to bring more eyes to the post. It's going to bring more ad revenue. They put an ad right next to that post. It's really elementary. We have got, look, we're going to make the argument that all these food companies should get in trouble because they're making a profit off of poisoning people's bodies. We've got social media companies who are making a profit off of poisoning people's brains. How's that any different? Y'all can look this up. There's a law. It's called Section 230. You can't sue social media companies. Social media companies and vaccine manufacturers are the only two companies that are exempt from lawsuits in this country. Now think about that for a second. If your kid gets groomed on Facebook and Facebook doesn't do anything about it, there's nothing you can do to sue Facebook. Facebook's got all these monitoring AI tools and everything. They could absolutely stop it, but they don't. In fact, one could argue Facebook in instances where we're talking about political radicalization, Facebook intentionally pushes posts up that will radicalize people and lead them to be more likely to commit political violence. And the victims' families can't sue. Imagine if, like, Chuck E. Cheese had a pedophile posted up there, just grooming kids, and they knew it was going on. Or maybe they didn't know it was going on, but it was happening at their restaurant, and they failed to do anything about it. It happened over and over and over again, and they never threw the guy out. They never bothered to say, what are you doing here? They never looked into it. They didn't tell him he had to stop. Nothing. They would get sued into bankruptcy for Facebook, for Roblox, for all these social media apps and games and stuff. Nothing can happen to them. There's nothing you can do. They have no recourse. There's no consequences for their actions or lack thereof. Doesn't that bother you a little bit? Now, if they were just truly acting like because once upon a time, Facebook, you just refreshed Facebook and you'd see the most recent post. Twitter was the same way. Instagram was the same way. It didn't push specific people and specific posts to the top of your feed. You just saw whatever was posted most recently of the accounts that you follow. That's it. If they were doing that, I wouldn't have a problem with saying, hey, these are just dumb. You can't sue them for this. I wouldn't have as much of a problem with that. But we're talking companies that have developed algorithms that specifically piss you off. Algorithms that specifically are designed to not only upset you, but keep you engaged with the things that upset you. Keep you scrolling. And I think they call it doom scrolling now. On the things that make you mad. To find something that makes you angry and stick with it. Go pull your fucking Twitter up, dude. It's a cesspool right now. It's all just about political violence and war and rage and anger. And they make money doing that. Isn't that gross? Don't you think that would be a better use of our government's resources than about half the crap they're focused on right now? I mean, we have all these hearings and nothing ever happens. Talk about these little girls that committed suicide because Instagram told them they were ugly and all. Great. Congressional hearings are the most bullshit, showboating nonsense. Whenever I hear that Congress is going to have hearings about something, I immediately assume nothing's going to get done. Nothing's going to get done. Oh, there's going to be a congressional hearing about X, Y, or Z issue. I go, oh, so that's something they're not actually serious about. It's something they want to pretend they're serious about. It's something that they can get that little 13-second clip that goes viral from when they're yelling at somebody and scolding that nasty businessman, don't you, or politician or whoever, don't you do that again. And then they can turn around and it'll be red meat for their donors. And their donors will go, yeah, you're really taking it to them. You're fighting for us. But nothing ever comes of the hearings. They go in, they do their hearings. They know it's a big, pony show. It's all bread and circuses. And they leave, and nothing happens. When has anything ever happened? Name me one piece of meaningful legislation that's ever come from a congressional hearing. How long have we been doing the UFO hearings? We always hear, oh, this is the week. We're going to have the big drop on UFOs and blah, blah. Nothing. Nothing happens. They go on there, they talk, people get to grift, and then they go on the news and podcast circuit, and they get their name out there, and they get, like I said, the little clips they can take back for their ads when they're trying to run for re-election, but nothing ever happens. Mark, dude, if you try this, if you hear that Congress is going to have a hearing about something, whether it's social media or UFOs or the Epstein files or January 6th or how the Biden administration treated members of the Trump administration, just know, DOJ abuses and stuff like that, just know nothing will ever get done. Nothing will ever get done. It is all a sideshow. meant to make you think something is going to get done, meant to make you think your hopes are getting up here, or meant to get your hopes up on something. They know good and well they have no plan of action for something like that. That's been our show. That's been our show. We'll see you Wednesday. WTF Wednesdays. Ooh, we're getting into spooky season here. We'll see you Wednesday, and then I am trying to figure out Saturday. The Saturday show, I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to do a show. I'm gonna be out of town that whole week, though, including Saturday itself. I don't want to pre-tape something super early, but I also don't want to not give you a show. So we're going to try to do a show Wednesday. We may be able to, may not. And then if I can't do that, I'm going to try to line up some interviews. We'll see how it goes. There's a chance you got to go without me for a day. I'm sorry. You'll live. It's probably better for you anyways. We will see you guys on Wednesday, though, for sure. WTF Wednesdays. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. And stay based.